Okay, we are back on Pepper Tree Lane. We are going to play the T-shirt game. The rules are simple. The year is 1979. Remember that? Real crossroads
What a
year.
year.
We were in junior high, not middle school, junior high school.
Correct.
Now, if you wear a T-shirt to school, you have to be very careful because of your reputation.
That's true.
So if you make it through first and second period and people are laughing at you, then you're a dork. If you make it through third and fourth period and then people really start harassing you, you're tolerable, barely
But
passable.
let me just add that bomb could have been dropped anytime,
Anytime.
even at lunch or on a field trip or anything. But go ahead.
If you make it to fifth period and people are okay with your T-shirt still, then you're considered all right. And if you make it to the sixth period, you're in, you're cool. All right? So here we go. The T-shirt you're wearing to school is the band Chicago.
Yeah, I don't think you would have been like Mr. Hip for wearing it, but it would have been tolerated. I think it wouldn't have been derided. They would have thought maybe that you were raiding your parents' wardrobe or something, but yeah, it wasn't too bad.
4?
Yeah, it was a little mellow. It was a little too mellow, a little more of a mellow rock than what we were listening to. But it would have been, you might have been derided for being kind of old fogey-ish a little bit, but it would have been tolerated.
A 4?
Yeah,
5?
I would give it that.
All right, I agree with that. Okay, the TV show Saturday Night Live.
Oh, you would sixth period all the way. You'd be in like Flynn with that one.
That was cool, right?
Yeah.
Chevy Chase.
Oh, sure. I can't even imagine what that would have looked like back then, but it would have been definitely, you would have been the hippest kid in school.
Exact cutting edge,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, absolutely.
I agree with the 6. Okay, here we go. Foreigner.
Yeah, that would have been a 6 too. At the time.
Exactly, 79, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were hot,
Oh
right?
yeah, no, you would have been, you would have been like the cool, you would have been up, somebody would have passed you a joint or something, yeah, for sure. No, you would have been fine.
Rock on.
You would have been cool with that one, yeah.
Okay. John Denver.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't have made it past second period with that one. You would probably be told to go change your shirt in the back. I mean, I don't think it would have been jumped on that vociferously, but it wouldn't have been your best choice.
He did an album with the Muppets around
Yeah,
that
that
time.
would have been pretty much
Is that
the end of it. Before that, you might have gotten away with it. But no, the Muppets,
after the Muppets?
Well, that crowd, yeah, no.
Or the Grape Nuts commercial, maybe? That could kind of.
Dude.
Okay. It's a 2. I agree.
Yeah.
All right. The Sex Pistols.
Okay. Now, this is where there's a schism.
Okay.
Because among my friends, it would have been hell yeah.
Yeah, 6. Yeah.
But you might have been told by a teacher or an administrator after getting just almost threatened within an inch of your life by everybody else, you probably would have been told to change your shirt or go home because that was just, yeah. I mean, my mom found a picture of Johnny Rotten that I cut out of Horizon magazine. So this was not an easy, this was an arty picture that I found. And my mom's found it once and just crumpled it right up in front of me. So we knew where we stood with that one. So it depends on which crowd.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that could be like a 3 or a
to.
6. I know.
You would have gotten major props from the punk friends. Oh yeah, but everybody else, no, you would have been.
Okay, the easy listening pop people would be horrified.
No, well, there wasn't just that. The stoners and this is before they came on board with punk rock. All the skateboarders and the stoners and the surfers, the so-called surfers in Glendale. Yeah, they would have just. They might have gangbanged you. Yeah, it might not have been a good thing.
All right, we're going to swerve wildly. TV show Donnie and Marie.
Well,
a 0?
Well, now you see another point of split here is that if you're a guy or a girl. Now, a girl could probably get away with it.
Okay.
A guy, no. You'd be like, dude, that's lame. You might not have been told to change your shirt, but it wasn't offensive, but it just wouldn't have made it anyway.
I watched the show, but I would not talk about it the next day at school. I mean, that would be unspoken.
Hey,
right?
if you went to school in Utah, it'd be different. But here,
we were in Los Angeles.
No, that wouldn't have flown.
It didn't fly.
Wouldn't have flown, no.
Okay, the band Toto.
Oh, yeah. At the time, they were a new band, and they, yeah, you would have gotten some props for that. Not a hugely popular band with the Stoners, but they were considered all right. They were
middle.
They were about the same grade as Foreigner.
Okay,
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Time.
About a 5
At the
I think.
time,
Yeah. ABBA.
Oh.
79.
Well,
mind you.
again, it'd be guy versus girl. A girl could get away with it. Guy, not a chance in France. No, they'd be like, dude. A lot of people would have probably been asking you, like, what is that? Who are you? Who is that even? However,
go ahead.
However, if the T-shirt had a picture of Agneta's butt, that would have been a whole different thing. But they generally didn't.
What's odd is that ABBA was huge in 1979, and yet you couldn't. Well, if you were a teenager in a cool junior high, you couldn't. Yeah, discuss it.
The problem with ABBA is that they went disco, and so that right there would have been
okay.
Unless you were a girl could have gotten away with it. Guys, no.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Fonzie.
Fonzie would have been cool in 75 and 76. Right. But at that time, no. At that time, it would have been like, dude, get some new shirts. He
had jumped the shark.
Yeah, he jumped the shark. He totally jumped the shark. That's which
he
is
went
incidentally where that phrase comes from.
Didn't they go to Hawaii or something?
No, he did an Evel Knievel thing in Wisconsin where he was jumping on his motorcycle, jumping over a tank full of sharks. And or maybe it was a big
something
shark.
Ridiculous.
And that was the ones. Those also were the episodes where they introduced Susie Quattro and as Leather Tuscadero and gave it a little bit of glitter glam rock cred.
Okay.
And I forgot who the actress that played Pinky was, but that was where Fonzie definitely met his match, and the coolness factor was suddenly in question.
All right, Molly Hatchet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You would have been, ace of the place.
Exactly.
That one. Yeah.
Yeah, they had cool shirts too, right?
And a lot of punks actually like Molly Hatchet. Molly Hatchet had kind of a nasty boy cred that kind of was universal.
Did they not have a big song on the radio to sustain them, like Leonard Skinner?
Flirting with Disaster.
Really? Is that played today, or have they kind of been forgotten?
Not as much as it should be. I would have thought that our conventional rock radio would play that more.
Right.
It's a fantastic song.
Okay.
It's probably hands down their best song.
Okay.
I'll be traveling down the road, not flirting with disaster. I mean, I love that song. I do that one at karaoke.
They were big at the time.
They were huge at the time, and that would have been...
That's why I added them.
In our school, we would have been number one, yeah.
And we go from that to Neil Diamond.
God help you. God help you. If
you don't bring me flowers.
By that time, Neil was complete schmaltz, and no, you probably... You would be lucky to get through first period with your life wearing something like that.
That's for mom,
yeah,
right?
If a girl wore it, some of her friends might have given her a little hassle, but if a guy wore it, now forget it. You would have been sent home.
I hear you. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Jimmy Carter.
Jimmy Carter.
The dude was president.
Yeah.
I
don't know if that would have been taken as an ironic factor or not.
Was he cool, I guess is what I'm asking.
He was, kind of. He was
because Bill Clinton was cool with his saxophone years later.
Well,
you know what I mean? He tapped into the youth culture.
I don't know. I really don't know how that would have been taken.
No one did it.
I think it would have been a little nerdy to wear the presidents on a T-shirt. I think people would have been like, whose butt are you trying to kiss? Your civics teacher might have liked it.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Carter was on his way out by 79.
Yeah, I don't really know.
I don't either. I don't know. That's weird. Beach Boys in 79.
Cool. Yeah, you would have been cool. Yeah,
they're kind of eternal.
That was a 6-period job. Yeah, they would have passed through the joint for that one.
And they're Southern California too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the Beach Boys experienced a renaissance around that time. So
they kept coming back like waves, right?
Oh yeah. And all the surfers, all our so-called surfers that went to our school, they would have appreciated it.
All right, Village People.
Oh, I think either guy or girl have gotten major crap for that one.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think the only ones that could get away with wearing that would have been maybe black people or Latinos who were unrepentantly into disco at the time. Everybody else, like, no. If you or I wore that, no, we would be.
All right.
Yeah.
The TV show Little House on the Prairie.
Next. Come on,
That's a zero.
I think you know the answer to that one.
But what I'm trying to point out is that was a hugely popular show.
Yeah.
So why couldn't we express it at school the next? I think that's
why couldn't we express a lot of things at school?
But what is it? I'm not sure why.
Well, I forget. Where a guy, it probably wouldn't have gone well. A girl could have gotten away with it, but it depends on what her friends might have thought. She might have been teased as being kind of a namby-pamby by the more partying type girls. So I don't know that one.
I know we all watched it,
but I know a guy wouldn't.
You just couldn't
get away with that. No.
Discuss it.
No, you'd be called. You'd be called.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
And this was before kids came out in junior high.
True.
Everyone was in the closet.
It's not necessarily that was even part of gay culture. It's just that that's what the default put down was for anything they didn't like. Oh, you're a fag. They would always call you a fag for something they didn't like.
That was default.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, it meant you're a dork, whatever.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Okay, here we go. We're on more solid ground.
No, dork was more 80s. Back then, the fag was the standard de facto put down. And that meant that if you were a heterosexual, healthy guy, you had to fight. You had to fight anybody who called you that.
It was different times.
Yeah, it was.
Before politically correctness. Yeah. Okay, Paul McCartney and Wings.
I think that would have flown okay. I don't think you would have been Mr. Popular, but it would have been all right. It was kind of middle of the road.
Exactly.
You would have rolled through, and it would have been okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Saturday Night Fever.
Well, okay.
With John Travolta pointing in the air.
After the Disco Sucks thing, no, you would have been not cool.
It would have had to have been the year before, 78.
Probably. Yeah. It was a big deal. Yeah. They turned on that they're like a rattlesnake. Yeah. No, it was all the rage for like 5 minutes, and then
people turn on disco.
Yeah. So it was a question of timing.
All right, last one, Foghat.
Yeah, you would have been no problem. A-okay. You made some interesting choices. Can I throw a couple out there?
Please do. Go ahead.
The Flying Lizards.
Never heard of them.
Okay, well, they did that obnoxious version of Money. Dan, 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 dan. In the English, the cold English one. The best things in life are free. Well, I'm only saying that because I actually wore a Flying Lizards t-shirt on the last day of school.
Did anyone know what it was?
And I just remember getting shocked looks, like nobody really knew what it was.
Exactly.
And people were threatened by it. It just said the Flying Lizard, and there was a bunch of blue. It was a yellow T-shirt that said the Flying Lizards, and it had a bunch of blue stars on it. People already associated yellow with Devo and the B-52, so they knew it was something new wave.
Okay.
But they didn't quite know what it was. And I remember I wore that shirt to a field trip to Magic Mountain.
Yeah.
And one guy said to me, "Man, you listen to the Flying Lizards too much." I don't know what that was supposed to mean.
Now tell what you wore to our graduation.
Oh, yeah.
Junior high, please. Explain
my
yourself.
My father worked at a hospital. So I went into his closet, often to find props for the new wave scene, as I often did, and found a white Tyvek body bag, like a jumpsuit, a white Tyvek jumpsuit.
Right.
Which looked a lot like the protective jumpsuits that Devo wore at the time. And then I had an old Space 1999 utility belt, a plastic toy utility belt that the little gun came in. So I turned it inside out and clipped it together for my belt. And then I actually took a marker and wrote Devo on it, just like Devo.
And the rest of us were in suits and ties, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. So at our junior high school graduation rehearsal, not the actual.
Oh, okay, got it.
Just a rehearsal.
I didn't know that. Okay.
It was just a rehearsal.
Okay.
And me and a friend of mine had agreed to show up with homemade pump clothes that we'd worn, we'd designed the night before.
What did the teachers do?
But here's what happened. We were sitting there in the auditorium, and I was sitting towards in the front section there, and all these jocks and all these stoners were just hooting and hollering, giving me all this stuff. People were making nasty comments like, "Oh, hey, Betty spent all night sewing napkins together, and it looks like he's taking a dump in it," and all kinds of obnoxious things, and hooting and hollering and catcalls, and then. So they had us going up these stairs on the side of the stage, and as they were staging us, I could, people started to notice that I was standing there, and this entire auditorium was making catcalls, and there was all this rustling and hubbub and making rude noises. But by the time it got for me to actually walk across the stage, it metamorphosized into this big ball of teenage energy and finally erupted into applause.
Hallelujah. You were one of the first new wave or punkers.
Yeah, and I think the applause was that jerk had the nerve to actually do this.
Exactly.
And the funny thing was, I didn't even remember that we had a rehearsal that day. I was not intentional, but everybody took it that way. And I remember looking at everybody like, "What? Applause? That's not the response."
And what did the teachers? Did they allow it, or did the teachers send you home to change your clothes?
The three counselors that were giving out their diplomas or whatever kind of just looked at me. I remember Mrs. Rapp. Mrs. Rapp just looked at me like, "What?" And then the principal of the school took us aside and said, "I want to talk to you boys."
Yeah.
And then. And I was like, oh boy. So here it comes. Now, fortunately, our principal was really a very nice man. And he came down on us. He took us aside. He came down on us. And I just said, look, I didn't remember that we were going to do this today. I just figured since it was the last day of school that we were going to cut loose. And he said, well, okay, I understand that. But unfortunately, I can't have you mixing with the regular population.
Oh, my God.
So we got sent to detention. But the way we made
it... wearing a jumpsuit.
Yeah, and there was just somebody. There was a man that didn't even speak English there as our security guard, as our prison guard, and so we had a little tape recorder, a little Panasonic tape recorder. So what we did is we put our heads down on the tape recorder and just turned it. We had, I think, Joe Jackson and some other stuff like that, and we just listened to the tape recorder at very low volume. to get through the board.
All right. Any last bands you can remember? I remember the cool T-shirts were Steve Miller Band.
Yeah,
with the Pegasus.
That would have been cool.
Any more you want to
guys
throw
and
in?
Girls both.
Yeah, exactly.
And more girls actually.
It was a cool logo.
There was one cool thing that I saw some girls wear one day. Is these two girls came to school, one wearing a Yes T-shirt and the other wearing a No T-shirt, and they were the same style, same color. It's just that in the same style as that same. Who's the guy that?
I love it.
Who's the guy that does the covers of Yes? The artist.
He's a famous artist.
Well, anyway, it's the same style. But and I thought, okay, I'll give you props for that. That's
you could have won a maybe. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, and take care. We're all done.